This is IGN. With the early access label now gone, this RTS combines the familiar and the fresh. This is your IGN review of Stormgate by Leanna Hafer. There's a moment right before the start of a 1v1 RTS match that's like nothing else I've felt in games, and Stormgate delivers it. I see that countdown timer start to tick, I can feel my own heartbeat, and I take a deep breath. Then I'm looking at a colorful command center and a gaggle of workers, and it's just me and some random stranger fighting it out for glory or ruin. The twists and turns Stormgate has taken during early access to get to where it is now haven't all been in the right direction, but it is moving the basecraft formula forward on a design level in some subtle and not so subtle ways. Stormcraft has come a long way in the years since its early access launch, and while it has now shed the early access label, it is not being dubbed version 1.0. There are still major faction reworks and graphical overhauls promised, as well as multiple major modes that are now flagged as in development, whatever that even means anymore. I'm not absolutely thrilled with a lot of the changes that have been made to the 1v1 competitive mode, which I still enjoy quite a bit overall. I'm going to focus mainly on what's different here rather than explaining the basics of it all again. So check out my early access review from last year if you want to hear more about how things used to work. Unsurprisingly, since it's made by a bunch of former Blizzard RTS devs, Stormgate has the feel and overall rhythm of a classic Blizzard RTS. At its best, it's like home cooking for someone who was raised on Brood War and Warcraft 3. I order around my scrappy human Vanguard recruits while zipping back to my base to click an upgrade just at the optimal moment, and I imagine myself like the food critic in Ratatouille being transported back to his childhood. There is something that just works about the mental coordination and almost musical hotkey strokes in this type of game, even all these years later, and developer Frost Giant gets that. It has also clearly put a lot of thought into what could be improved about that experience. And it's here that I feel like the conversations I've had with people glibly calling it StarCraft 1.5 are not seeing the big picture. On an underlying design level, it's a thoughtful progression even from the flash and polish of StarCraft 2. Quality of life features like automated control groups and quick commands for accessing production queues and upgrade menus without having to find the right building smooth out the moment-to-moment experience in a way that took some getting used to, but now I want them in every RTS. Where Stormgate has seen the biggest glow-up is in its 12-mission campaign, which was its most disappointing pillar in early access. Very little actually remains from that affair, with all the Vanguard characters and units having been given more grounded and realistic models, and all but the basics of the story being completely redone. In most cases, this is a massive improvement, but it's also obvious in some ways that it was rushed through production. While it's still in the experimental phase, I am pleased that Stormgate finally has an editor and custom games available. There are still some key features missing like triggers, but this hasn't stopped dedicated community members from already creating some really wild and impressive maps and game modes that I never would have thought possible with the current tools. For what they are at the moment, I found them very easy to use and quite flexible as someone who cut my teeth making custom scenarios for Brood War and Warcraft 3. As a competitive RTS, Stormgate is what's next, or at least I hope it is. It pushes that classic basecraft formula forward with a veteran's eye for what works and what doesn't, and gets me pumped to queue up again right after I finish a match, win or lose, in a way I haven't been since the early days of Wings of Liberty. The campaign has come a long way since the rough state it was in for the early access launch, while it still has some rough edges. The road ahead still feels long, and I genuinely hope it has the chance to become everything it wants to be someday. It's already a special game, though, combining the familiar and the fresh into a satisfying RTS experience. Stormgate's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest Stormgate updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.